Goodbye, international break. Welcome back, domestic seasons. And it's a huge one this weekend, of course, as Arsenal face Liverpool, Man City against Leicester City, Bayern Munich against RB Leipzig, PSG against Lille. We have a Copa del Rey final. We discuss the Sergio Ramos injury, Robert Lewandowski, and so much more. Jimmy Conrad, James Benge, Qué Golazo weekend preview begins right now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Qué Golazo, our weekend preview. Jimmy Conrad, how are you, man?
I'm good. And it's April Fool's Day, so I don't know what's coming, Luis, but I'm ready for you.
Nothing's coming because I don't think we're ready yet. The world is not ready for April Fools. Like, let's just wait one more year. And then
okay, all right.
Nothing's coming. Don't worry. But maybe James Benge has something in store. Benge, how are you?
It's past midday here in the UK, so legally you're not allowed to April Fool's me.
I need to see paperwork to prove it. Welcome, everybody. This is our weekend preview, and rejoice, international break is over. So now the club season continues. So much to discuss, but I wanted to talk to the guys first about, another major key player down due to international break. Sergio Ramos announcing he had a muscle injury, so he's out for the Champions League games against Liverpool. He's out against Barcelona in El Clasico. This is a big deal. I mean, obviously, we've talked about Robert Lewandowski out as well, but Sergio Ramos, another addition, Jimmy. This is a big deal once again.
Yeah, it's a big deal for me because I wanted Mo Salah to get his revenge with the armbar stuff. We know that Sergio Ramos dabbles in the dark arts of defending. He's a perennial winner. And when he's not on the field, Real Madrid just don't play the same. I wanted to see both of these teams at their very best. The best they could possibly be, given that Van Dijk and all those guys are out for Liverpool. But I just want to see Mo Salah get his revenge over two legs against this guy that broke his arm and his whole confidence at the Champions League final not too long ago. And we're not going to have that opportunity. I don't know. This really changes kind of my preview and prediction, let's say, around that Real Madrid-Liverpool match. Very similar to PSG and Bayern Munich with Robert Lewandowski out. So this is an interesting one. Again, I want to reference April Fool's Day because he played 4 minutes against Kosovo. Like, at what point did he pull a calf muscle? Was it in training? Like, why would they even roll him out in that last game if he had any semblance of an injury? I don't know. Maybe Benj has got a little bit more insight on the details of the calf of Sergio Ramos, but I find it interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea why they brought him on. I suppose that there's also that thing of, if you go back to Real Madrid before the international break, they were sort of playing him 60 minutes here, 60 minutes there, because he's just coming back from a knee injury. So, I mean, that's why he came off against Greece when they could have used his narrative busting powers. But, like going back to what Jimmy said, this team they lose that superpower, this Real Madrid team in the Champions League. They lose that stupid ability they have to turn even the worst situation into a victory. I mean, Colin Miller here, great writer for Football España's little tweet, that Real Madrid's last 10 Champions League matches without Sergio Ramos, they've lost 7 of them. They've actually won the other 3 and against teams like Inter, Atalanta. But then they lose it without Ramos to teams like CSKA Moscow, Club Brugge. Oh, they beat Club Brugge. Fair play. Well done there. They lose to Man City, lose to Shakhtar twice. He is there. When we always, I always come on this pod and I always say about Real Madrid, if Ramos is in the team, they always have this superpower of turning the worst situation into an advantage. And actually kind of look back on it and go, a lot of that's Sergio Ramos. So, it feels like a real change in how we're going to view this tie going forward, which I'm really excited about. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Listen, I mean, the statistics, first of all, Real Madrid scored 10 goals in March. So, Sergio Ramos was part of one of them. But I think the most important part, which is what Bench just mentioned, guys, is that he just gives that extra sense of confidence to everybody. And just the fact that he's a center back, he's the captain, he's like pushing the team going forward. He sees in front of him what's coming, free kicks, penalty taker, set pieces. It's just a big deal. And I think that against Liverpool in 2 legs, and then El Clasico, which is, it's just a big game for them anyway. It's going to be a big problem. So I don't know. Does your mind change, Jimmy, on the champion? Like, did you have Real Madrid beating Liverpool in the first place?
I did. And now I'm going to change it. I absolutely going to change it because I think that Sergio Ramos, to you guys' points, has that gravitas, right? And when Rafael Varane, his partner, has to be the number one guy in the back line, I don't think he does well with that. I think he likes being the number two. I think he's comfortable with being the number two and allowing Sergio Ramos to be that vocal leader. You need somebody in the back that keeps everybody in line, that communicates. And Rafael Varane just looks a little shy, you know. And the last time that Real Madrid faced a Premier League team in the knockout rounds of the Champions League was last season, and Varane made 2 mistakes against Manchester City that got them knocked out. I actually thought Madrid played pretty well in that game, all things considered. But those 2 mistakes ended up costing them, and Sergio Ramos wasn't playing in that one. So, yeah, they're a different team. They are a different team when he's not in the lineup. And as much as I value all the experience and all the trophies they've won in this competition, I just think Liverpool might have the edge. And now, finally, Liverpool fans might thinking, something's going our way this season. That's amazing. So we'll see if they can actually turn that into something positive and beat Real Madrid.
And it's an even playing field because Liverpool losing Virgil van Dijk, they'll be like, now you know what it feels like.
Exactly.
So what about you, James, mate? Did you have Liverpool winning this one?
I had Liverpool winning this, and maybe that's just my mad pro Premier League mentality, but I like Liverpool to win this. I mean, the one thing I would say is, yeah, I completely agree with Jimmy. Varane as the number one option. I don't know what it is, but it's not quite as effective. But it's still going to be Nacho and Varane at one end, Ozan Kabak and Nat Phillips at the other. Like, you know, I know which partnership I'm picking, and I know I think Benzema will score quite a few, but
yeah,
I just have this mad hunch with Liverpool. It's nothing more than that, but I can't shake it.
It's really weird that we keep saying, I don't know, see Varane as a number 2, you know, World Cup champion, Champions League winner, Rafael Varane. We still don't really see him as the guy that can lead the way, but it's definitely a solid argument, especially when Sergio Ramos is missing. All right. So, well, you tweet us, James Benge, Jimmy Conrad, LM Echegaray. I should make my tweet account a little easier to say, but you know what? I don't care. Qué Golazo pod on Twitter. What do you think? Who's going to win now, Real Madrid or Liverpool? And don't forget that we're going to have plenty to talk about next week as the Champions League returns. But this is the weekend preview about what's coming up. So let's begin in the Premier League. And let's begin, of course, with James Benge's Arsenal against the team that we just talked about, Liverpool. A pretty damn big game historically. Now, a lot taken into account. What do you see here, James Benge?
It's a really big game. I mean, I don't want to do spoilers, but our editor, Mike Goodman, got me to write the 10 biggest games remaining in the season. And look, it's not Fulham, Newcastle big. It's not Manchester Derby big, but it's big. It's quite a big game. For Liverpool, the top 4 is not as far away as we think. And a win on Sunday night, I mean, they could be 8 points off Chelsea, and that's going to be hard. But you could hope that Leicester start dropping points. You've got to start picking them up yourself. Liverpool have a good run in, aside from this Arsenal game and this Man United game. If they won those 2, I don't see any reason why they couldn't win out the remainder of the season. They're a really good team. They look so much better with Fabinho in midfield. But like I was saying, that means Phillips and Kabak at the back against Aubameyang, who is, you know, all this talk about Aubameyang, but he is still playing really well. He's getting in positions in a way he didn't before Christmas. For Arsenal, like, it's a strange one. I don't feel like there's a huge amount riding on this Premier League season. It's not like it's going to define Arteta's tenure. It's all about the Europa League. But ultimately, you can't like lose every game in the Premier League and think that you'll be successful in the Europa League. We saw that in Unai Emery's sole full season when the wheels just fell off in the Premier League, and then they didn't have that winning habit when they played Chelsea. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. Even though it's an 8 p.m. kickoff on a Saturday and they're going to make me drive into London rush hour Saturday, I'm going to hate that, but it's going to be worth it. Again,
nobody feels bad for you, Ben.
Save
those tears for somebody that cares.
There are no violins here. The only thing that I'm worried about is that you're going to cost Aubameyang a starting spot once again, because you'll get him late as well going into the traffic and stuff.
No, what I wanted to hop in and say with regard to, like, say, tactics on both sides, that with Kabak and Nat Phillips, with Liverpool, they've started the last 2 games before the break. They were both clean sheets against RB Leipzig and against Wolves. I think having Fabinho in his normal spot has made Liverpool look a little bit more like the old Liverpool. They seem to transition. Their fluidity is a little bit better. I think that Fabinho does an excellent job, obviously, of protecting that back four, especially his two young center backs. And I think that'll make a difference. I suspect that Jurgen Klopp will roll out the same guys, and I could see a similar result. With all due respect to Arsenal, who are very good at home, all things considered. They're just having a tough time, I think, with consistency and stringing wins together. I found this stat where they haven't won successive league games since January. That's not a good look. And obviously, Liverpool are going to be coming in needing this international break to get some rest. But Liverpool, I have another one, headed into the international break with successive wins, which is as many as their previous 8 games combined. So it's kind of the tale of two different trends going on. And I think Liverpool probably needed that break a little bit more than Arsenal. But we could argue, I guess Arsenal needed it too. I just think with Diogo Jota, now Bobby Firmino's back into training. Jota scored for Liverpool before the break, scored for his country during the break. He's back in fine form, and I think they're better when he's on the field as well. I think Firmino maybe finds a spot on the bench, maybe comes in late if they need him. But I actually like Liverpool to win this one. I think they're gonna tip it. I think they're gonna get a little boost of wow, some things are going our way with the Sergio Ramos news, and I think they could parlay that into a good result this weekend.
Well, give us the lines right now then. Well, what's going on here with
So Arsenal? I like Liverpool to win in over 2.5 goals. I think both teams are going to score. I could see a 2-1 scoreline for Liverpool. That's plus 220. I also like Mo Salah to score and Liverpool to win and both teams to score. I do think that Arsenal will find the back of the net. That's plus 450 if both teams score. Liverpool win and Mo Salah scores. What I wanted to say tactically from Arsenal's perspective was that it looks like Emile Smith-Rowe, who had a hip injury in the U21 game for England, he's against Croatia. He's going to probably miss out. And I really like that 3 underneath Aubameyang with Smith-Rowe, Saka, who looks like he's going to come back into the team, and Odegaard. I like their fluidity. I like the rhythm that they set with those 3. And it's clear that Aubameyang's enjoying that as well. With Smith-Rowe out, who I think does a lot of thankless work, runs a lot. That kid runs a lot. Do you drop Lacazette into that spot and then, Aubameyang in that spot and put Lacazette up top? I don't know what you think, Benge, but I really feel like I'm curious to see what Arteta does without Smith-Rowe, who has been somewhat of a revelation this season.
Oh, Smith-Rowe is fantastic. I've interviewed him a few times. He's a really smart, diligent guy. And he is really hard to replace because it's hard to find someone that's kind of willing to subsume their ego, that's willing to step out of that number 10 role that they kind of made their own and let Odegaard shine, run the hard yards down the channel, get Tierney and get Odegaard in positions to excel. A lot of those things are the things that you signed Willian to do. And Willian has not done them at all. But I think, it's that. Maybe it's Pepe as well. I mean, he's had some really good games off the left. You have options, but I feel like none of them are the sort of sure thing that Smith-Rowe's been. The other thing, go back to your betting tips. Give me some odds on Roberto Firmino scoring. Let me give you this now. 8 goals, 3 assists in 11 Premier League games against Arsenal. Liverpool pick up 22 points from those 11 games, 6 wins, 4 draws, and 1 loss. Firmino is like, we all laugh about him for 36 games of the season, but then he plays Arsenal and it's like El Fenomeno. El Fenomeno is out on the pitch. His smile is improved. His hair is better.
Yeah, and just to add to your info, by the way, as Jimmy gives us that stat, the no fixture because we've been talking about the big 6 matches this season, and they've for the most part been pretty boring. But no fixture in the Premier League has given us more goals than Arsenal against Liverpool, like 166 goals. So there is something to be said, and then the Firmino narrative goes into that. So Jimmy, what was going on there?
So Bobby Firmino to score anytime, which is pretty good value, plus 290. Had he been healthy, had Jota been hurt, I think that would have been half that, right? Maybe plus 125, plus 150 for him to score anytime. But those are some good numbers. I like that. I might throw a flyer on that bench. Plus 290 for Bobby Firmino to score anytime. And I do like both teams to score. So if you're looking for some value here, it's a bit of a coin flip on William Hill. So if you wanted to put it in a parlay as well, you could probably get some good action on one of those results too. But yeah, this should be a cracking game. And let's be honest, if Liverpool don't win this, their hopes to get into the top 4 not necessarily done, but they're going to be starting to fizzle out, and it's going to be a lot more difficult to try to catch the teams ahead of them.
Yeah, Benge, give me your final prediction on this one.
2-1 Liverpool.
All right, well, there you go. Let's stay in the Premier League, everybody, because James Benge did mention something that if Leicester City drops points, then maybe it can help the likes of Liverpool. And guess who Leicester City have to play this weekend? Man City. What a game this one, Jimmy. It's going to be a pretty, hopefully, entertaining game.
Yeah, what I want to say, of course, anytime Man City's playing it, there's some form of entertainment, usually because they're crushing the other team to death with possession. It's a revenge match for City, though, because they lost to Leicester 5-2 earlier in the year, which is a crazy result because we've been lavishing praise on the defense of Man City for most of this season. So for them to give up 5 in one game is crazy. And if you take away that one game, City have given up 16 goals in total in their other 29 games in the Premier League against everyone else. And that is insane. So I also did I got some fun facts for you guys. When I go visit some sites to kind of, build some narrative and understand some of the trends that are happening behind the scenes, between the lines, as I like to say, they had Man City. They usually list like the team's strengths and weaknesses. And for Man City, there were no weaknesses. I've never seen it before. In years and years of research, they had no weaknesses for Man City. And then I went and looked to see if City has any injury concerns. They've got no injuries. I mean, Pep Guardiola has these guys physically peaking at the right time. So that's something to consider. And then when I looked at Leicester's, I'm like, okay, well, they're missing some players, Harvey Barnes, James Justin. And I know that James Maddison will probably come back into the team, which is nice. But they said, well, they're weak at defending counters. They're weak at defending set pieces. They're weak at aerial duels, defending against attacking through balls. So I'm like, let me look at their opponent again. Oh, yes, City's awesome at all those things. So when you look at it on paper, City should do the business. That said, Iheanacho scored 7 goals in his last 4 appearances. Vardy he scored once since Christmas Eve, so I feel like he's due. Madison comes back into the team. Ricardo Pereira, finally they're starting to stabilize the health of their back line. He comes back in. He's a tremendous outside back and one of the best to do it last season, been hurt a lot this year. I just don't know. I think City's going to win. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know if Leicester's going to score. I haven't decided yet if I think Leicester's going to score. So I want to hear you guys, your thoughts, and then I'll give you guys my lines.
Well, Man City Youth Academy graduate Iheanacho, by the way.
That's true.
That might be Benge. It's, from a Liverpool perspective, from an Arsenal, well, from everybody, really, you just want, Man City going to run away with it. They might as well just hopefully make other teams drop points so the other teams can climb up. But how do you see this game?
No, I don't want that. I want Leicester in the Champions League, man. I really love going to the King Power. Largely, I mean, they bring you a pie at half time, man.
I was going to say, there must be some snacks there that are really good.
but catering is something I need to consider.
Of course.
Who's going to be in the Champions League?
I'm with you on that. I would 100% take catering into consideration.
We need to do like a ranking of catering.
Right, Chelsea are the kings of this.
Yeah, Chelsea. I remember that even from my university, because Chelsea, Stamford Bridge catering is pretty spot on. Anyway, back to Leicester City, Man City. What do you think here?
Well, I do think that. I mean, in my head, I'd convinced myself that Leicester were slightly more consistent against Man City than they are, and obviously there was the huge win this season, but not a huge number since the title win. Having said that, I feel like I completely agree that all of Leicester's weaknesses play right into City's hands. But then a lot of Leicester's strengths are the sort of things you would hope that's where City might slip up, with the split strikers. And when we do rightly sort of say that Vardy's dropped off a little bit since Christmas, but part of that is he's just been willing to run those lines to make space for Iheanacho, who's just been absolutely brilliant. I thought I remember watching the FA Cup game against Man United, and I thought Vardy had a really good game despite wasting a few chances, because you could see that Lindelof and Maguire were thinking, right, because Premier League defenders are terrified of Jamie Vardy, more so than I think almost any striker in the league, because it's that electric pace, it's how he punishes you for every error. And I really like him against City. We saw John Stones is not infallible. We saw that for England against Poland. I like that. I like the idea of Tielemans pinging balls over the top for them to attack. As Jimmy said, the Leicester defence looks pretty solid. If they run that back three of Fofana, Soyuncu and Evans, you think City will have to work for their goals. But then it's City, isn't it?
That's basically my argument. Like, we can have a beautiful 3,000-word essay about Leicester City and how they might do it. It's Manchester City. And to Jimmy's point, everybody's healthy. I'm convinced with this Saudi Arabian money, they got like that, like Avatar, James Cameron's Avatar. Like they've got these like portals. They go in there. They're like, oh, I got a little niggling injury. Like they just go in there for 20 minutes and they're perfect. It's just they're unstoppable. I think Leicester City will give them a game, but it's just they're just too good, Jimmy. They're just too good.
I also want to throw into the mix for people to consider that City only need to win 5 more games to win the league.
Yeah,
and
so their
I think
objective is full on. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? You want to end that as quickly as you possibly can. Now, I also add the caveat that Manchester United actually have to win as well. They have to keep pace with Man City to get to the 5 games. So it could be 4 games for Man City, but I think they're going to come into this going, hey, we came out of a break. We have some players that are rested. Obviously, some are not because they had to play multiple games during the break. But we have to go at it. And we're going to want to set the tone very early, I think, in this one to let Leicester know that there's not going to be a 5-2 happening this time. So I think there's a couple things at play here, because the sooner they can get rid of this league title, get rid of sounds pretty negative. As soon as they can capture this league title, the more they can focus their energy on all the other trophies they're trying to win. And I think that's going to be a big point of emphasis for Pep. And I'd be really surprised if it wasn't. So yeah, I think they're going 100 miles an hour in this one, as they then obviously can rest some guys, or at least be thoughtful about how they're going to stack up against Borussia Dortmund midweek.
Get rid of this title. Like put it at the back of the room.
It's already done. They know they've won it. Sorry. Yeah.
Just put it next to our friend's DVD set pack. Like we don't have enough space. All right. Well, what's the betting tips? Did you give us that?
Yeah, no, I haven't yet. I'm going to say City to win. I do think that Leicester will find a way to score because they've done it before, because they have the confidence of scoring 5 against them. They might just have that vibe against City, but I think City will still win. That's plus 200. And then there's so many scoring options for City. I didn't know like which player to go with. I don't know who's going to start. Everybody's healthy. There's so many options there. Obviously, Aguero's coming back into the team, and he just announced he's leaving. So maybe there's like let's throw Aguero a bone, and maybe you'll give him the rare start and see if he can score against Leicester. I feel like it's safer to go with Kevin De Bruyne to get an assist. I think he'll be on the end of something, plus 125. But then to Benge's point about Firmino, there's something about De Bruyne right now. Before the break, he had scored 4 goals in 3 games heading into the break. And then for Belgium, he had a goal against Wales, and he had the assist against Czech Republic. So the guy's on fire right now. I don't know what's going on with Kevin De Bruyne, but he's going to be involved in some ways. And if him scoring anytime is plus 290. So you have some pretty good value of De Bruyne getting some action, either an assist anytime plus 125 or scoring plus 290. I like De Bruyne in this game a lot.
I like it. There's something about De Bruyne. Just replace There's Something About Mary and just sing that song. James Benge, give me your prediction on this one.
Like a really impressive 3-0 defeat for Leicester. That was not a 3-0, but it was.
No way.
It'll be a good 3-0.
I think with Maddison back in the team, I do think that Leicester are going to score. I'm obviously encouraging people to consider it, but obviously, go with your head, not your heart. That's always tip number 1.
I'm in between both. So I think Man City score 3, but I think Leicester City will get 1.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, so there you go. We'll see what happens there. All right. Well, listen, and make sure that you check out cbssports.com and you see the remaining of the Premier League games, because we got plenty more to talk about. We're going to take a break and we'll go around Europe. Qué Golazo weekend preview. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, welcome back. Qué Golazo weekend preview. We are now discussing the rest of Europe. Some really great games. Finally, the international break is over. I'm also really happy too, because as a South American, it's really annoying when you're like watching these really boring games and there's no CONMEBOL. It's really annoying. So I'm just happy that the club season is back. Anyway, the Bundesliga, guys. No Lewandowski. We talked about Sergio Ramos. We know that Lewandowski is also out at least a month, at least 4 weeks, I believe. And Bayern, who are not running away with the Bundesliga by any means, now face RB Leipzig, Jimmy Conrad. This is a big game for everybody, but obviously Bayern now Hansi Flick has to readjust, so to speak. I mean, it's not like, they don't have anybody else to replace him, but still, it's a major loss, obviously.
Yeah, major loss. I had this game circled on my calendar prior to the international break because I think it just has massive implications as to who's going to win the Bundesliga, even though I feel like we can all kind of quietly agree that Bayern Munich's still going to find a way, even if Lewandowski's out for 4 weeks due to his knee injury. They're also missing Alphonso Davies due to a red card suspension and Jerome Boateng to yellow card accumulation. So Bayern obviously don't look as strong. Leipzig have their own issues, including And I know Benge wants to talk about him, Upamecano, who is going to be Bayern's new summer signing, or is already signed. He's going to join him in the summer. So it's kind of weird, I think. So it's so German, right? So like the Marco Rose thing at Borussia Mönchengladbach, announce things 6 months in advance, but then still have to it's whatever. It is what it is. I'm actually bummed for Lewandowski. He was looking set to break Gerd Muller's 40 goals in a season. He was at 35, and maybe that holds him up. I don't know. Maybe he can come back and score 8 against Wolfsburg or whatever he likes to do against that team in particular. A couple other fun facts. In 76 competitive games under Hansi Flick, they've only failed to score once, and that was in February of 2020 against RB Leipzig. So take that for what it is. I still feel like this team's got too much. There's so much at stake. Obviously, 4 points separate them at the top. Leipzig have to think that without those players I mentioned, Lewandowski in particular, this is their big chance to make it happen. That said, anytime I've seen Leipzig play in big games this season, yeah, they got by Manchester United in the group stages to qualify to the knockout rounds. But against Liverpool over 2 legs, I was pretty disappointed in how they played. And I think that Bayern Munich, now knowing that they're going to be without Lewandowski, could really cherish this game against Leipzig before they head into the Champions League against PSG, because now they get to tinker and actually have a 90 minutes to figure out how they're going to solve this. Do you start Choupo-Moting? Personally, I think they're going to go with Serge Gnabry up top and maybe play that false 9, Coman on one side, Sané on the other, Muller underneath, and you got Kimmich and Goretzka, and you still got Hernandez and Pavard. I mean, those guys are so good. So I don't think that Leipzig's going to get a result here. I could see a draw, and I could see Bayern winning, because they very similar to Real Madrid. They just seem to win the games that maybe they shouldn't, because that's what champions do. But I want to hear from you guys before I give my lines, because I'm leaning a couple different ways here.
Chime in, Ben.
I mean, firstly, I find the player with Upamecano playing against his future team, I think that almost works in a really different way to a manager who we know.
That's fair.
With Marco Rose, his head's elsewhere. I think if you're Upamecano, you're going to go out. This is almost like your first training session. You're going to go out and you're going to smash these guys. You are going to first tackle you have to make on. I think it's going to be Choupo-Moting, and I'll explain why in a sec. You're going to hit them really hard. You want them to know that you're going to be the number 1 centre back next season. But I mean, the other thing obviously is the striker, or who leads the line. I think we can kind of discount Muller because he hates playing there. So for me, it becomes, do you want Gnabry and someone off the bench, Coman or Douglas Costa, or, a little bit more punch off the bench? Or do you just kind of roll with Choupo-Moting and it's a body to occupy those spaces, to give someone Muller to play passes to give someone the forwards to the wide forwards some angles to work with. I kind of go for Choupo-Moting. I mean, I think Serge Gnabry is fantastic. I'm sure he could do that job, but I have this weird feeling that we're going to see we're going to be talking an awful lot about Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting during the final stages of
because especially PSG is coming up as well. But listen, to the best Thomas Muller impression, what about Leon Goretzka?
No, I just wanted to jump in and say that I think Upamecano struggles with quicker strikers. We saw it against PSG in the Champions League last season when they rolled out a false 9. They didn't go with Icardi when they could have. They could have gone with Choupo-Moting as well. They did not. And Upamecano I think his one big weakness is that he struggles whether to step into midfield with that false 9 or to drop off and hold his space. Either way, it's going to create gaps when you're playing against world-class players. So I could see Hansi Flick seeing that, recognizing it, and saying, come on, come chase Gnabry into midfield and then open up those gaps for Sané and Coman to bomb through. So I don't know. That's really interesting. I could obviously make a strong case for Choupo-Moting as well, because he's more of a like for Lewandowski in terms of size and ability to hold up the ball. Maybe obviously not in the finishing side of things, but he's no slouch in that department either. So it'll be interesting to see, because obviously if you're Hansi Flick, you're still looking ahead to PSG and how you can unlock those guys, because PSG doesn't get enough credit for their defending. I think they're pretty stout defensively as well. So there's a lot to take into consideration here. And I think if you guys are looking ahead to the Champions League, like we all are to a certain extent, I'm very curious to see the lineup that Bayern Munich rolls out.
Well, give us the quick lines because I want to do that PSG segue, because they have a big game this weekend as well.
Yeah.
The lines over,
so I think both teams are going to score. We've learned that Bayern not very adept at keeping clean sheets this season, whether Manuel Neuer's in the sticks or not. So I like both teams to score. The value there is tremendous. Plus 290 for the draw, plus 260 if both teams score and Bayern win, and then plus 300 if RB Leipzig and both teams score. I'm kind of seeing a draw here because there's so much at stake, because there's 4 points there. I could see RB Leipzig being pretty conservative in some ways and trying to hit him on the counter. I think with Angelino still out, they lack that presence on the left side to really hurt teams and to maybe unbalance teams. And when he's out, they can really focus on other players. They still don't have since Timo Werner left, and we can, whatever you want to say about Timo Werner these days, he still was very dangerous for RB Leipzig. They haven't really replaced him in a meaningful way. I think they're they just feel more predictable than they have in the past. So I like both teams to score, but I am going to go out on a flyer, and I am putting money on this. Serge Gnabry to score first, plus 450. The guy loves scoring early goals. I bet on it a few times last season of the Champions League, and it hit every single time. I don't know what it is. That guy just lights it up in the first 30 to 45 minutes. And then after that, in the second half, it's like he can't be bothered, usually because Bayern's up 5-0 at that point. But I'm looking at that one pretty hard.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because I was going to say that this narrative was going to be similar to what happened with Dortmund, where like Dortmund were going to hit Bayern first and then suddenly Bayern would just wake up. But the difference here, no Lewandowski to really just round it all up for Bayern Munich. So I could go with that, with Gnabry scoring first. How about Leroy Sané assist or something as well? That could maybe be tricky. I'm going to go with a draw as well. I think it's going to be 2-2 or something like that. High scoring draw. James Benge, final score prediction for you.
Yeah, 1-1. Yeah.
All right. Choupo-Moting?
Yeah.
Okay. Ben's tripling down on Choupo-Moting. I'm here for it.
I love it. All right. Some other games, by the way, this weekend. I mentioned PSG. They have to face Lille. Very big game in Ligue A. And obviously Copa del Rey as well, with Athletic Bilbao against Real Sociedad. An all-Basque final there in that one. What do you have here from either game, both games, one game, Jimmy Conrad?
Yeah, I'll just kind of continue the trend of the two top teams in the league going against each other. PSG, Lille, tied on points. PSG's on top of the table, only by goal difference. This game could decide the league, and I think it will. Only 8 games left in Liga. For me, Lille disappointed me against Ajax in the Europa League. I expected a lot more from them, and for them to, I didn't say limp through it. It was 2-1. They lost both games 2-1 to get knocked out.
I just felt inferior.
Yeah, just like I thought they were going to kick on. Hey, we're the best team in France. We're going to show you why. And they never really showed me why. And that was pretty disappointing. And I thought, okay, this team probably doesn't have what it takes to hold off PSG for the whole season. And I think we're going to see that. They also lost to PSG a couple weeks ago in one of the cups. I don't know how many cups they have in France, the Coupe de la Ligue, 3-0. They drew with Monaco 0-0 prior to that. They just lost to Nîmes 2-1 before the international break. Nîmes are in 18th place in Ligue 1. Their form is not good right now. PSG are welcoming Neymar back into the team. I think that dude's going to be up for it. I have him scoring anytime, or actually I found the line that I like. Hit him to score and PSG to win 1-0, 2-0, 2-1 plus 450. I like that one a lot. I just think PSG, even though Verratti's going to be out and he's so good in helping that team transition, I think Neymar's going to score. I think he's going to want to prove that he's ready to go and somebody they can count on in the Champions League against Bayern. Obviously, PSG want to redeem themselves after losing to Bayern in the final last season. So, yeah, I think everything's pointing to Neymar being an absolute beast in this one. And I just don't think Lille's going to show up. I think they struggle in big games.
Yeah, after the international break as well. James Benge, anything on Copa del Rey? Do you see something there?
I mean, it's a real shame that obviously this game we've been waiting, God, nearly a year for it now. And in the end, it's the ultimate final, the great Basque derby, one of the best derbies in Europe. And there's no fans, and it's a 9 p.m. kickoff in Spain, and you can't even go to a bar and watch it. I mean, that's really sad, but I'm really excited to see Athletic Bilbao in their competition with 2 bites of the cherry. I mean, they could win it this week and then win it again in a fortnight. It's amazing. Yeah. It's like the Johnston's Paint Trophy. It's amazing.
I'll just say I found this really great stat to give you guys some context on this game. There have been 117 editions of the Copa del Rey in Spain, and on 30 of those occasions, a team from the Basque country has won it. Athletic won it 23 times. Real Sociedad have won it twice. And that works out to be 26% of the Copa del Rey titles have gone to a Basque club. That region only makes up for 4.9% of Spain's population and only 1.4% of Spain's landmass. I thought that would stick in you guys' brains. The more you know, right? I'm giving that to you guys. The thing is, both of these teams are kind of limping into this. Real Sociedad lost 6-1 to Barcelona at home prior to the international break. Athletic are winless in their last 3 before the break. I just feel like, if you guys remember the Spanish Supercopa final that happened where they were down to Barcelona 2-1, they came back to beat Real Madrid in the semis. Like, they're pretty good in this cup competition. They obviously found their way into the final against Barcelona in this season's iteration. I like Athletic to do it. With all due respect to La Real, they haven't scored more than one goal in a game in over a month. And I just feel like they're struggling to really piece it together. They're not the same La Real as the one that started the season when they were super hot. And David Silva obviously not playing has hurt them. Odegaard not being with them anymore has hurt them. And I just don't think they've replaced those guys or really have anybody that can fill those gaps. So I like Athletic to do the business here. In terms of lines, I would just go with straight up here. It's a great parlay game. I like the draw after 90 minutes, to be honest. I could see both Basque. I could see a 0-0 after 90 minutes. It's plus 200, and then Athletic to win it in extra time. If you want one or the other, La Real to win straight up is plus 163, and Athletic is plus 188. It's a great parlay game, so something to consider. But I'm leaning towards Athletic.
Well, I would be very just careful to tread on this game because the Basque game, like anytime teams like this meet, like the narrative just like slaps you in the face. But I'm with you. I think Athletic Bilbao might do it. All right. Well, that's it. That's our weekend preview. You cannot complain once again. We gave you everything. Any final words? The only thing that I'll add, by the way, is obviously Erling Haaland is doing the rounds. His father, Mino Raiola, seen at Barcelona. Now our very own Fabrizio Romano reporting he's now in Madrid, talking to Real Madrid. So he's obviously making the rounds, and it should be a very interesting summer indeed. Final thoughts about anything? James Benge, begin with you.
Yeah, I mean, we've previewed all the big games of the weekend except the biggest. Barnsley against Reading.
Huge.
Friday night. 5th against 6th in the championship. This is the stage of the season where you need to start paying attention to the championship.
100%.
So season, you don't look like a complete idiot having no idea who Daryl DK is. I mean, how could you not? But keep an eye on that. It's a great Friday, 12:30 Eastern. So easy watching when you should be working. Fire it up.
Good shout out on the championship.
That's great. It's a great shout out. Championship for me is probably the most difficult league in the world to win. I think you make a big, strong case around that. I have my eyes, though, on the Turin derby. Torino is hosting Juventus. Torino are 1 point ahead of the relegation zone. They're obviously dropped off a lot this particular season. And obviously, Juve have their own issues and are clinging on to that 4th spot in the last Champions League. Napoli's 2 points behind them. So that one's tight. And I think when you have your backs against the wall, you play a little bit different because you got nothing to lose. You have that hunger to survive. Whereas Juve still feel like they're in that entitlement phase. Like, oh, well, we've won 9 straight Scudettos and look at us. We've got Cristiano Ronaldo. And sometimes that entitlement can work against you. So I'm very curious to see who shows up to play in this one, especially coming out of an international break.
Love it. Love it. James Benge, thank you so much, brother.
My pleasure.
Jimmy Conrad, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Hey, everybody. I want to thank Jimmy Conrad and James Benge for joining me today. Don't forget to follow us on Apple Podcasts. Please follow us on Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Drop us a question, a comment, and we will answer it right here on the show. We're also on Spotify, Stitcher, and so much more. Have a great, great weekend.